Hey everybody, today I'm talking about the judgment and denial release process. That's the third process. The first process is the empowerment. I'm empowering myself with a strong and loving intent to heal my will. Will you help me? And you say that 10,000 times in every kind of emotion, every kind of scenario in your mind, back in time, forwards in time. Say it while you're driving, say it when you're taking a shower, say it while you're cooking, okay? You're only going to have to do the empowerment process one time. If it takes you 3 months to do it, then that's what it takes. Then you will learn determination and willpower and perseverance. And at the end, you end up with an immaculate intent to heal. You only got to have to do that one time. And to a large degree, and then the second process is emotion release work, and there's lots of different kinds of emotional release work, so lots of flavors to it, lots of ways to approach it. However, I've got it kind of distilled now down into finding your lion heart and going full collie. You do that. The more abuse you've had, the more issues you have, then the more you'll have to do it. But it's not going to be forever. You know, if you do it 6 months or 2 years, it doesn't really matter. Doing it like once a week or something, or a couple of times a month, and really get into it, move all your energy out. But what's important about that is that works on your emotions. You want to be able to vibrate your emotions, the fear and the anger and the pain or whatever it is, you vibrate that out, okay? But every emotional issue has two parts to it, too. The thought and the feeling. Thought is in the spirit, yeah? And the feeling is in your will, down here. Now, thoughts are causal. Thoughts cause, or the start, right? Feelings respond. So when you say, I love you, right? Those are words, and then your feelings respond to it, yeah? So there's two parts, thought and feeling. One that's toxic, like I hate you, or I hate myself, I hate my hair, I hate my teeth, or whatever it is that you hate, those words create a feeling. And that feeling is toxic, right? The toxic feeling. So it's stinking thinking, toxic feeling. So it's a two-part deal, which I call the snake and the snake bite. The snake is these thoughts, yeah? They're always sitting there, and if they're conscious, then they're judgment, and if they're not conscious, they're denial. And let me give you an example of denial. Denial, if you leave a baby to cry, and it will cry its lungs out because it's a life or death thing for that child. You know, like if you know, that's one of the few things that are actually built into our instincts is, if you're left alone, then you're going to die. And you need to have the mother with you all the time. That's the way babies are. So, but then a lot of mothers, let's say for example, in this example, the mother thinks that it's okay to let your baby cry and eventually they'll get over it. But if a baby cries for 3 to 6 months, is never picked up, then the baby gives up crying. But what happens is, subconscious, now this baby isn't cognitive of this, it just happens. The baby says to himself, it has the feeling, the emotion of, no matter what I do, I'm not going to get my needs met. And everything I try to do doesn't work out. Okay? Now this sits in the subconscious, and it was in the mind of a child. Now you're an adult, and then you're saying, well, nothing ever works out for me, and no matter what I do, it turns to shit. Yeah. These are and that's the living manifestation. So it is your denials that manifest. Whereas on the other hand, if you have the judgment of you know, I'm shy of girls because I'm afraid of being hurt. I'm afraid of being hurt by girls, so I don't want to approach them. Now you're kind of conscious of that. It's in the conscious, so that's just a judgment. And a judgment release is not denial. You can deal with it because you can kind of get over it. There's things you can do to work around that. You can practice or whatever, because you're conscious of it. But when you're subconscious of it, like the denial of no matter what I do, nothing's gonna help me, right? Or the world, there's no love for me in this world, right? These are subconscious, deep things, and you want to make your subconscious conscious, because it is your denials that manifest reality. That's what Carl Jung says. Your shadow is your denied pain or your denied reality. So this is why denial release is so important, because you do not want denial in your life, because you can't change what's in denial, because it's not access to you. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't grasp it, you don't even know it. And yet the result is, every place you go, they're unfulfilled, or my needs aren't met, or it's not working out the way I want it to. All these kind of feelings that you have in life, in actual life, is because of these subconscious denials. And this is one of the reasons why language lessons of the heart is called language lessons of the heart, because you have to actually, if you think of the denial release process and the judgment release process as rewriting your computer code. You have a computer virus, so you have to rewrite it, and you have to do it individually. And what it is you're training your subconscious to find the denials and not want denials, to find the judgments and not want the judgments, and to release them. You're training it, so it's like a language. And there's steps to it: recognizing, offering acceptance, forgiving yourself, release and replace. Those are the steps. But just to understand how powerful it is. So here's what happens. If you have the feeling of I'm not good enough, or the world's not supporting me, right? That's the feeling. Yeah? Now you're doing emotion release, so you can do all your kind of stuff that you do, and you get all that kind of stuff out, right? But that's the feeling. But if you have the words are like the snake, and then when at some point in your life that snake will reach out and bite you, and then you'll feel like, oh, I did all this work and nothing happened. Why? I've been doing this work for years and years, and I still feel stuck, right? Well, because it's a two-part system. One is to move the emotions, to clear out your emotional body of the original feelings. That's a huge deal. And number two is the judgment and denial release. The words that are in your subconscious that drive you to, whatever results that you don't want. Not having enough money, not having fulfilling relationships, not feeling good, not having a good job. All that stuff is a manifestation of denials from your childhood. So the denial release process goes like this. First, you find the denial, and judgment and denial are the same thing. So I'm going to give you a list of judgments, and it's up to you. If you read one of these judgments, and you feel a strong reaction to it, then do a denial release on it, and then a judgment release. They're two different things. One is you're telling your subconscious mind, you're telling your emotional body, your heart, your will, and your body that you don't want denials anymore. Denials may have saved you as a child, but now they are the roadblocks, the obstacles, right? They're the things that are holding you back. Whatever holds you back is a judgment or a denial or a belief. Yeah? I can't get what I want in life, and life is hard, and all that kind of stuff, right? So, let's just pick a random judgment of I'm not good enough. Baby's in the crib, nobody comes to pick him up. He goes, well, I guess subconsciously he goes, I guess I'm not good enough. I mean, it never enters his mind until he's 16 years old or whatever. But the feeling and the result, the conclusion is I'm not good enough. So let's do denial on I'm not good enough. Denial release. First, you feel how much you've been hurt by that denial. Feel the discomfort of the denial of the judgment caused in your life. So if you have a whole life of not feeling like you're good enough, that's a lot of misery. You know, I've personally had that one. That's a lot of misery. So then the first thing you say is, yes, I recognize my denial that I'm not good enough. Yeah? And then you kind of feel that. You recognize it. The recognition is the door to change. So you have to recognize first, and then you have to accept it. Yes, I offer loving acceptance to this denial. So, acceptance. You have to have recognition and acceptance. You don't have to like it. You just have to accept that it is a reality in your life. It is a force that's working. Yes, I recognize my denial that I'm not good enough. And yes, I offer loving acceptance to this denial. And third is you forgive yourself. Yes, I forgive myself for believing in this denial for so long. And the denial is, no, I'm not good enough. Or whatever. Next you say, because I no longer need or want denial in my life, I now offer it loving release. And when you say the word release, take in a big breath before. Right? I now offer it loving release. And then really let out a whole breath all the way down into your belly, into your pubic area, right? And while you're letting this breath out, imagine in your mind some little being, some person or some energy just leaving you. Yeah, it just goes off somewhere. It just goes off and it's out of your space. And when you've got that finished, then the last thing you say is, yes, and now I'd like to replace this denial with new understandings that, and as you say the understandings, see them walk back in. See the energy walk back in. Now, denial release is a little bit different from judgment release, because all you're going to talk about in the replacement is how much you don't want denial. Okay? So these are 6 or so. The first one, I want to know. I no longer need things hidden. That's basically what you want. The second one, denial is not loving. Third, I cannot love what is in denial. Yeah, so you can't heal what's in denial. My light must be able to shine into what was denied. I no longer want my greatness denied. What is denied is a part of me. Denial blocks my love. Denial is no longer helping me. And I want nothing denied ever in my healing. Because you want to heal all the way to the end. You don't know. Okay? And then the last one is, I will not be hurt by my denials anymore. So this is you giving commands to your subconscious, to your heart, to your will. And you've got to say, when you do this over and over and over again as repetition, it starts to build a language of letting go, and a language of what your intent is. And this is so important. And then you can do the judgment release on it, okay? The judgment release, the judgment release is a little bit different. The judgment release you replace with what you do want, okay? So, I'm not good enough is what we're using again. And remember that the average person is told no 56,000 times. No, you can't do that, stop, you can't you have to do your homework first, take out the garbage, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff that you get told, no, you can't do what you want, wish, and will. So that's a lot of judgments against you. So, again, feel the judgment, feel what that judgment, now that was denial, right? Denial is like bring it up to your computer, right? This denial of I'm not good enough, okay? Now it's on your screen. Now it's a judgment. When it's on the screen, when you can see it, it's a judgment. So, yes, I recognize my judgment that I'm not good enough. Yeah? And you feel the whole discomfort of that. Yeah? And what that did to your life. And how miserable that made you feel and inadequate. And and whatever, afraid or sad. Then say, I now offer it loving acceptance to this judgment. A little short pause. And I forgive myself for believing in this judgment for so long. Next, because I no longer need or want this judgment in my life, I now offer it loving release. Yeah? Just practice that. And you see whatever that was, the image, the thought form, the face, or whatever your image is, you see that floating out and walking out. And then last you say, I would now like to replace this judgment with new understandings that I am good enough. I'm a good enough father, I'm a good enough cook, I'm a good enough at playing on the computer, I'm a good enough talker. See, you give these replacements. I'm a good enough at loving myself, I'm good enough at taking a shower, I'm good, my friend, people like, think that I'm adequate, my boss likes me, or whatever it is the opposite of I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I've always been good enough. I was created good enough, and as I get older, I get better. I'm more than good enough. See, you can't overdo this process, and that's what I just did. That's how you do the denial and judgment release process. Now I'm going to show you this list here, and from this list, just practice, because what you're trying to do here is not so much that you're releasing each individual one or looking for your deepest pain and your deepest denial or whatever it is. Don't even worry about that. What you want is to teach yourself the process, teach yourself the ritual, teach your soul how to recognize these things, forgive, it becomes automatic, and then replace with what you do want. It's that whole ritual, that whole phenomena is what you want to have established as a new language, new core language for yourself. So if you've come up this far, then you have written down the judgment, denial, release, and you have it on a piece of paper so you can read them. And you've gone through, let's say, for example, that you've gone through every single one of the judgments that I wrote down for the two categories. One is judgments against doing the work, you know, what holds you back from doing the work. And the other one is some possible judgments that apply to people who have illness, physical illness in the body. And that comes to 167, yeah, judgments that are in those two categories. If you have done the judgment release on each one, and you came up with 6 replacements of what you do want, that comes to 1,002 replacements. That's 1,002 choices that your subconscious mind can pick. It's about choices, you see? This is you clearing out karma by releasing what you don't want, and then you're giving your soul, your subconscious, your autonomic nervous system choices that they can be felt, right? What's important about this is that if you have PTSD, you have no choice. You're going to feel bad. If you have anxiety disorder and you have, you know, panic attacks, you have no choice. There's no choice. There's nothing in there other than to feel that panic or feel the PTSD or depression. You know, when you have a depression and somebody says, well, you have a choice. You don't have a choice. You're there. And there's nothing inside you that says anything else than feel depressed, feel a panic attack, feel PTSD, whatever it is, anxiety, shyness, fear, whatever it is. Whatever it is, because the thing about, oh, you always have a choice in life, that is not true. If you don't have it programmed into your subconscious mind of what your choices are available to you, this is what the replacements are, then you have no choice. You're living on automatic, and then you automatically, you know, run off the road or automatically have a natural disaster, some kind of something happens to you, because you're not in control, you haven't programmed, you haven't cleared, okay? So, writing them out and just practice them, because what's happening is all you're doing with the practice is you're training your body how to do it and how to hold this whole system inside you, so that in your normal everyday life it'll just be seamless and automatic and subconscious. It already is going to be happening. Now, there's 3 more lists. You could have more than this, but I want to talk about 3 more lists that you can make on your own. Because now, if you've gone through those 167, you know, maybe it took you a couple of days to do it. You've gone through 167 of the judgments and the denials, and you see how they fit in the body, how they come in, how they release, and how you can replace them. Hopefully you'll understand, you begin to get the impression of how that works. You'll be able to see them in other people too. If you work with people who have a lot of emotional issues, you can see their judgments. They just tell you what their judgments are. You can just hear them. You know, what holds them back, what their problems are, what their issues are, what their fears are. They just tell you what their judgments are. Okay, what I'm going to recommend that you make a list of relationship judgments, because relationships is the big part of life. The man and woman relationship, the relationship with the children, the relationship with yourself. There's a lot of judgments. You know, that's I'm not good enough is a relationship judgment. You know, I'm not good enough for a man. There is no woman for me. There is no man for me. You see what I'm saying? And it just goes on and on and on. So part of the process is to train your mind to find your own judgments, or to find possible judgments, you know, that applies to you. So if you can train your mind to look for the judgments and see how they're framed and worded and the results that happen to them, then you're training your subconscious mind to actually find them and to do the whole process for you. So relationships is a big deal, you know. Your relationship to yourself really needs to be core. Your spirit, heart, will, and body, that needs to be your core. And everything else is conditional and relational. You know, like if you feel like every time you get involved in a relationship, you get hurt. Love means hurt. You see what I'm saying? That these are judgments. They're programs that happen to you in terms of relationship. You know, I'm always in an abusive relationship, well, or I need an abusive relationship. You see that these are just programs. They're the trauma that you happen when you somehow in your childhood and your early family, and then that got translated into your relationship trauma. You know, and then it became the program with the words. So it's really worth the list of relationship judgments. The next list you can make is your list of money and finance judgments. We are not told in school or taught in school anything about money, and most of the stuff we have about money is completely nonsense. Money should be a whole topic in school, and finance, how to take care of yourself, or what all that kind of stuff. Is money evil? Yeah, no. No, it's not evil. It's good. You know, and is it only greedy people need money and all this kind of stuff? Go through that whole list of all the stuff that holds you back from being financially secure, financially stable. You know, you don't have judgments about your clothes are evil. You need clothes in order to become warm and stylish and all that kind of stuff. Well, you need money too. And you need to have a good relationship with your money and your finances. Find all the judgments and beliefs, all the cliches that you have about money, and replace them so that you have a good relationship with money, just like any other thing, you know. But money's a big deal, so you need to have the right. You don't want to hold yourself back, limit yourself, you know, undercut yourself or sabotage yourself when it comes to money. And the last list that I want you to make is your list on your judgments of God. God is a big player in the whole thing, whether you call it real or not real. In our vernacular, in our society, and in our subconscious, God is a major player. For example, anything you can say, like for example, the sky is blue. If you played the why game and somebody just says, well, why is the sky is blue? You say, well, because the sun and the light and then, well, why is that? And then you go, oh, because of refraction in your eyes, and then why is that? But by the time you get to 4 or 5 whys, it always ends up, well, God made it that way. Yeah? And why is there suffering in the world? And then you go, oh, the men and people and greed and all this kind of stuff. And then you just go between 4 and 11. Somewhere in there, you keep asking why, and it gets to be God made it that way. So undercurrent of almost all suffering and all the weird stuff that's going on and all the good stuff that's going on is our judgments about God. You know, and we need to look at it. Am I a sinner? You know, is sex a sin? All this kind of stuff. Am I separate from God? You know, nobody's separate from God. God's like the air, it's everywhere. But we have this separation anxiety that we're separate from God, and so all that stuff needs to be looked at because God is like the big picture. So it's really worth making a list of all the judgments about God and the relationship with you and all that kind of stuff, and just clear out all the stuff that doesn't serve you, and replace it with stuff that are good, solid possibilities. You know, like when Christ said, I and my Father are one, and I and my brother are one. Well, that implies that there's a unity, there's a family unity kind of thing going on with the God stuff. So clear out all that God stuff, because, you know, to feel like you're a sinner, or that you weren't created, or God doesn't love you, and all that kind of stuff. You don't need that. That's karma stuff from other lifetimes, and programming and religion and spirituality, all that kind of stuff just needs to be gone over and released and replaced, and give yourself an opportunity to flourish. Now, if you did the first 2 lists of judgments, you now have one 1,002 choices. And here's about money, right? Money gives you choices. You can go where, you can rent a car, you can fly somewhere, you can do things with money because you have it gives you the choice. And so you have to equate, when you can equate doing the judgment and denial release as money in your emotional and spiritual bank. This is money in the bank, so why not go for it? Okay, I think I'm going to end the video with that. And good luck to everybody, because like I said, you're clearing out your past karma, because this stuff, the emotions and the mind, the words connected to the emotions, is what karma is. Life is hard, then that'll go from lifetime to lifetime. That'll travel down through the family. So it's past, present, and future that you're clearing out. And that's pretty astounding, and it's really worth doing. So congratulations to all you people, and nose to the grindstone. And remember, you only got to do this once. You know, if you do it fully, you only have to do it once. And once it's installed inside you, like riding a bicycle or playing the piano, you've got it. And it'll happen automatically after that. All right, thanks everybody for watching.